Now, I want you to imagine stepping onto a field where everything feels familiar but somehow different. Now, add to that moving thousands of miles away from home, trying to learn a new language, and adapting to a new cultural system. This is the reality for thousands of international student athletes in the United States. And for most of them, the hardest part isn't even the sport, it's everything else. A while ago, I remember talking to one of my friends who's also an international student athlete about her transition process during her first year in the United States. On paper, she was living the dream. She was competing at a high level, earning her scholarship, representing her university, and representing her country. But when I asked her how she was doing, she said something that stuck with me. I do not know who I'm supposed to be here. Back home, she was part of a team that felt like family. Decisions were shared, success was collective, and identity was rooted in the group. But here, everything felt individual. She was expected to speak up more, stand out more, and promote herself more. And slowly, she felt like she didn't quite belong in either world. That moment captures the heart of my research. Because while we congratulate or celebrate international student athletes for their talent and diversity, we do not always understand the complex challenges that they face. Every year, almost 30,000 international student athletes come to the United States. They bring incredible skill, talent, perspective, and diversity to teams and campuses. But behind that contribution, there is a complex transition that they're undergoing. This transition is cultural transition, and culture shapes everything. How we communicate, how we build relationships, and even how we cope with stress. And this is what my research is planning to address. One key cultural difference, the difference between individualistic and collectivistic cultures. In simple terms, individualistic cultures, like the United States, emphasize independence, self-expression, and personal achievement. Collectivistic cultures, on the other hand, tend to emphasize group harmony, shared responsibility, and interconnectedness. Neither is better than the other, but when someone moves from one to the other, this shift can be profound. This shift is not just external, it is internal as well. And it challenges how you see yourself. This process is called acculturation. It is the psychological and cultural adjustment when an individual moves from one culture to the other. And while it can be exciting, it can also be incredibly stressful. And this is what we call acculturative stress. It often shows up as loneliness, confusion, homesickness, and sometimes even a quiet sense of not belonging. Now, what can we do about it? And that is a question my research is trying to answer. Does cultural background shape how athletes adjust? Because imagine doing all of that, balancing academics, training, performance expectation. It does seem like a lot, isn't it? So my research is asking 3 specific questions. Do athletes from individualistic cultures adapt more easily? Do athletes from collectivistic cultures experience more stress? And how does this impact their connectedness and well-being? Because not all international student athletes experience this transition in the same way. For example, if you're used to deriving identity from the group, it can be hard for you to derive identity by yourself or to ask help individually. For example, if you're also used to treating the team as your only hope for success, it's going to be hard for you to adapt to an environment where your success is based upon your stats, your own recognition, and your own personal brand. So this brings us to the bigger question. What can we do about it? International student athletes and institutions often have support systems for international student athletes, but these support systems are based off of having the transition process as purely logistical. Help them with paperwork, help them with visa, help them with eligibility rules. But while these things do matter, they're not enough. What international student athletes need is cultural understanding. They need coaches, who understand that silence might not mean disengagement. They need institutions who go beyond welcoming and move toward belonging. Because at the end of the day, we want them to perform better, but we also want them to feel connected. Now, let's go back to the student athlete, my friend, who told me that she does not know who she was here. With time, with the right support, she found a sense of belonging. With the right support system, she was able to hold on to who she was, and she was able to become who she wanted to be. Because at the end of the day, performance matters, but so does the person behind that performance. Now, the next time you're watching an international student athlete compete, I want you to remember that their journey is more than just adapting to a new sports system. It's them adapting to a new way of life, a new culture, and forming a new identity. Because at the end of the day, when performance matters, but so does the person behind the performance. So my research aims to understand this journey and hopefully change support systems around this journey to better support international student athletes. Thank you.